Hello, everyone.
And welcome back to a new episode of our podcast series. I am Gabriel
And I am Bianca.
Members of Info on Robotics 15993 team, robotics team participating in the first Tech Challenge competition.
In today's episode, we have among us Hubert, Wishwa, and Ella, all students at TU Delft University and members of an AeroDelft team. We are eager to find more information about their activity and their projects. Welcome to our podcast series, and thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Hi.
So, firstly, we want to know what does it entail to be a student at AeroDelft? Can you walk us through a day or a week in your life as a student involved in this program?
Yeah, sure. So it's great because we are a bunch of members who are filled with passion about our project, which is building hydrogen aircraft. And it's a lot of it is about passion because we're here to build a hydrogen aircraft from all the knowledge we've learned in aerospace, but also other faculties from TU Delft. And what we do is a variety of things from engineering, but also exposure and branding and more on the operations side. And a day or a week in AeroDelft, you usually have some big event happening every week. So it's always very exciting. Either certain design is finalized or you are ordering certain component, some milestone is achieved in engineering, or you have certain amount of followers you reached, or certain amount of popularity you gained, or you're mentioned in a news article. So it's very fast, and you really feel that you're in the aviation industry in AeroDelft, as AeroDelft pioneers it in the hydrogen sector.
Tell us about your experience as students at AeroDelft. What initially attracted you to join them, and how do you contribute to these projects?
Yeah, so the experience is wonderful. I could have never imagined having something like this and gaining so much experience from a project like this. What initially attracted me to the team was just to see that the team is so motivated and that we're all working towards one goal. And everyone has the same mindset. We're all super open-minded. And it's also just a nice way to contribute to sustainable aviation. And how I have contributed myself is just gaining the external image of AeroDelft, gaining more followers and more people that know about AeroDelft. That's mainly what I do in the team.
Okay, what have been the biggest challenges you faced as students involved in developing sustainable aircraft at AeroDelft?
Yeah, so when we started with AeroDelft, it is of course already an optimistic goal to fly on liquid hydrogen. So the whole project's already a challenge. But if I have to name one challenge that has been for the first couple of years is to gain as much partners and people that can help us out with this project. Because we are students, we are working next to our study, and we have a certain amount of knowledge, and there's a lot of knowledge in the aviation field. And to combine that, we needed a lot of partners for that. And that was a big challenge to achieve.
What aspects of the AeroDelft program inspired you to dedicate your studies and career to the field of eco-friendly aviation and sustainable technologies?
Yeah, so I think what I mentioned just now is that the team itself, the motivation of the team, of every member in the team, inspired me very much. And it's not that I'm now taking a gap here only for this project, but it's also you gain so much experience from it, and you also really help the industry to look at sustainable aviation alternatives. For example, hydrogen as a fuel. And I think the main aspect is the team being so motivated and the team being so close as well, that everyone's just on the same page and has the same mindset.
Okay, so because one similarity between our teams would be the fact that we need to collaborate and bring a project to life. So we'd like to know, how do you collaborate within our Delft team to address different challenges and to bring that projects to life?
Yeah, like Ella said, we need to be on the same page. We are working with more than 55 students that either work part-time or full-time in this project. And we are all building the same powertrain, right? And we are focusing on the same goal. So it's important by having meetings. We have every morning stand-up meetings where we start together and see, okay, what departments are working on what. And by having meetings and by making sure we share the knowledge together, we keep ourselves on the same page. And that's really important.
Yeah. And to add on to that, since we are, as you said, over 50 students, we have 5 engineering departments and 1 operations department. And one really important thing to keep this whole thing together is good project planning and having a consistent overview of, okay, where are we going as a team? And then also then break it down per department. So one thing that we do on our team is Scrum, essentially, which is just agile project management. And then what we do is, I'm the Scrum Master, so I have these Scrum meetings bi-weekly with each engineering department. And that helps me to get also a good overview of, okay, what are we doing? And then plan out, okay, where are we going next? And share the vision within each department. And then that's spread out through the whole team. And then we also have occasionally also team meetings where everyone is together. And then we can see, okay, this is where we're going. Because it's a big team. We have a lot of full-timers, but also some part-timers. And that's a way that we manage to stay together and still achieve our goals, which are ambitious indeed.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're also using the Scrum method, so we are using also the Kanban boards as well. But we found it pretty useful for our team, and we are 15 members.
Indeed.
What would you say have been the most memorable moments or achievements during your involvement in AeroDelft projects?
Yeah, so I think basically every day is memorable. But I think one of the main achievements we made this year is that we successfully finished our gaseous hydrogen powertrain tests, ground tests. So that basically means that we successfully were able to turn on the motor using our gaseous hydrogen system. And that was a big milestone because now we know that our system really works. And now we can integrate it into the airplane. And that was a big milestone where the whole team basically contributed to achieve that goal. And we, of course, celebrated that we achieved it.
Well, that's amazing. How do you balance your academic studies with your involvement in AeroDelft projects and the competition? Since I know from my team that it's kind of hard to manage both the academic studies and the involvement in the team.
Yeah, that's definitely the case. And we have 2 separate people in AeroDelft. So either you work full-time in this project, where you basically take a gap year and you're not studying, but purely focus on AeroDelft. And we have part-timers that do half studying and half AeroDelft. And you can work for 2 days or for 4 days in a week. I should do part-time. And for us 3, we are in the management, so we are taking a full-time year, so that means we are not taking courses. However, last year I did part-time year where I needed to combine my academic study with AeroDelft, and it comes up with a lot of planning, making sure you plan your hours really well. And of course, the efficiency is not always high. So that means you need to take your time for a good planning. And of course, AeroDelft is really fun to do. So I ended up most of the times sitting with AeroDelft still and not studying. So I needed to do that in my evenings. Yeah.
Do you benefit from any extra, understanding from teachers and something like that? Because our relationship with the school is pretty close, since our mentor is a teacher there, an informatics teacher, and we do have some extra passes basically from schoolwork.
Yeah, so AeroDelft itself, when you do AeroDelft, you don't get extra points or extra ECTs for that. However, I'm studying aerospace engineering at the moment, and it's really cool to see what you do as a study, calculating everything. You can see it in practice within AeroDelft and see what kind of things you can do in the future. So that's really cool to see. But you don't get anything from the university itself.
Can you share any unique or innovative strategies that your team has developed for launching aircraft or achieving precise flight trajectories?
Yeah, so as AeroDelft is we focus on building the hydrogen aircraft itself. So our focus is more so on building the powertrain aspect of it, and the flying or any kind of flying capabilities that we take from standard avionics that you see in the aviation industry. So that can consist of flight or flight directors, your flight management system, and your displays. All of that we take pretty much what is standard. So there isn't really any innovation or any cool things we have found in that area, since the focus is on making the powertrain. But because you were telling me about, because you have a competition coming up, right? About with paper airplanes, and you need to essentially hit targets. For this, may I ask actually, does your trajectory have to be straight? Like, does it have to be straight from the point of like launch until the target, or is it like a path you have to follow?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. You can't really have the plane fly around a lot. You have to try to make it as straight as possible, basically.
Okay, so you need to have, okay, so yeah, for that, like the main thing I would ensure if I was doing that is ensuring your paper is quite thick, so it's not flimsy, the material, like having a cardboard or something would be ideal, because then you need to ensure that it's stable, first of all, aerodynamically. And if it is like maintaining its shape, that means it will be stable. And then ideally, you should want to use a slingshot that you aim directly at the target, because because you don't want to make it too complex, of course, and then that's the easiest way to do it is to just have a person who's really good at aiming just aim at a target and use a slingshot. And if the paper is thick enough, the material is thick enough, then it should hold and you have a direct shot of hitting it. That's what I would think of.
Yeah, and I want to add, because what you see as a strategy, what Visha does is break it down in several things. So and that we do also with AeroDelft, with our powertrain. We break our powertrain, what we want as a goal, we break it down in several sub goals. And by having a good timeline and divide your challenges, you can overcome the biggest challenge. So it's important as a strategy that you break it down, just like what Visha just did.
Yeah, one problem that I think it would be for us is that we have some restrictions. For example, we are not allowed to use paper thicker than a normal paper for the cells.
Basically, every plane is the same. Every team has the same plane and the same basically instructions on how to build from just a sheet of paper. And with your idea, basically, we do have something like that. It's just basically a linear motion launcher with something of a trigger, basically, from action. And so it does work, just like you said. It can aim, and we did some calculations on approximately where it would land. It's not always precise. I mean, it still gets the job done, but based on where it lands, it has like 3 zones. Where it lands, the closest to the field being the most valuable one, you get different amounts of points. And you can't really control every aspect of the flight, as you can't exactly know what will happen once you launch the plane. But we wondered if there's anything more than just basically aiming it up and trying to, make it fly in a parabola, basically, exactly into the...
Yeah, like one thing I could think of, so basically you mentioned you have some sort of slingshot, but it's like a stationary object that instead of a person aiming, it's probably something rigid or something, right?
Yeah, it's like a launching rail, basically, with
okay.
Springs, and it's just a linear like pushback. It's just released by a servo and it flies.
Yeah, I see. So like the main thing you can control, because of course because you are basically accelerating a very light structure and then to accelerate it so quickly, you can do a proper CFD analysis on that, but that's not really worth it. What you should do is just what you're doing is prototyping and then keeping on just iterating it and then measuring what you see The one thing you can control is pretty much the angle you launch it at, right? The speed, the springs. And another thing you can control is sort of the control surfaces you put on your aircraft. So you can play around with adding different sorts of surfaces in order to stabilize it, or like different shapes at least, to see which one is more stable. And then that you could just test out and do some experiments with to see which one holds up more straight, because you want to aim straight and you just want a plane that flies more or less straight. So those are your control things, and then I'll just work with that and prototype there.
Thank you so much. All the information is pretty useful for us. So lastly, we would like to tell us some advice that would you give to our followers that are passionate about what you're doing and would want to take up on this path, because we also have members from our team that want to apply to the Delft University, and we are pretty curious about what you're doing.
Yeah, like the main thing is to if you have a passion for it, if you are interested in it, I think that goes a long way. And that's a passion that you can't really create otherwise. That's just out of interest. So if you have that passion, that's already a great place to start. And just know that you're you're in the minority who actually has that sort of interest in a way than other people. So I would definitely not doubt your interest in a way. So if you are interested in something, that's your passion for it, and then don't doubt that, so to speak. So even if it's not per se exactly what it's going to be taught or something, if you have interest in it, that's a pretty good way to be passionate about something and to pursue it.
And I think along the same lines, motivation is really on the same page. I think motivation also helps you get to where you want. And if you're just motivated enough, then I'm sure you can do anything you want.
AeroDelft is the perfect example. AeroDelft is just driven by motivation. Everyone who joined the team and works now and have worked from the team, it just was motivated to do this. And because we are studying, right? So we don't know actually how we gonna build one of the first liquid hydrogen aircrafts. And yet we are pioneering sustainable aviation. And that's all driven by motivation. So
yeah, it's amazing. There are many team members from FTC teams in Romania that are passionate about these things, and we also like the AeroDelft project because it involves a team similar. It has similarities with what we are doing, and also while being in an FTC teams makes you want to be in a team like on a long period of time. And AeroDelft is something that can be an option for different students in the future after we graduate high school. And it's amazing. Thank you so much. Everything that you're doing is amazing as well. Thank you for listening to our podcast, and see you in the next episode.